Rise up, Argent Crusaders! The hour of justice has come!
Can you feel it, my son? Closing in all around you. The light's justice has been awakened. The sins of the past have finally caught up to you. You will be called to account for all the atrocities you've committed. The unspeakable horrors you've let loose upon this world. And the dark, ancient powers you've enslaved. My soul was one of the first to be devoured by your evil. There are thousands more bound within this blade, and they cry out for release. Look now to your defenses, my son, for the champions of justice gather at your gates.
Well, shall we? I don't know about you, but after watching that, I am ready. Woo! It's one of my favorite trailers they've ever done. I absolutely love this raid. Ascending the steps. There's apparently the siege weapon they used to bash down the gates. Though the funny thing is, they didn't need to. See, the thing is, the Lich King wanted us here. In fact, what Tyrion was doing at the Argent Tournament Grounds, that's exactly what he wanted. He wanted us to go through all these trials and have only the best of the best brought here. Because this is exactly what he wanted. He wanted us to come in here to face him. That is a goblin warrior that looks like a murloc. There you have it, folks. We finally have playable murlocs in the game. But yeah, this is exactly what the Lich King wanted. He wanted us to come here. But you know who else wanted us to come here? Arthas. See, a lot of people don't even know or realize or even forget. Arthas and the Lich King are actually not the same being. They're not the same entity. You see, back in Warcraft 3, when Arthas took up Frostmourne, the real Arthas became a prisoner. His soul became trapped within Frostmourne, and the being known as Death Knight Arthas, who he played in the Undead campaign in Reign of Chaos, took control of his body. Because he was a separate being from the real Arthas, who was now a prisoner within Frostmourne, but also within Death Knight Arthas. It's almost like being caged inside a prison in your brain and someone else is on the wheel, taking control of everything, and you're powerless to do anything about it. And then at the end of Frozen Throne, when he ascended up the glacier, which is right up ahead, actually, and put on the Helm of Domination, Death Knight Arthas killed Ner'zhul and combined with the essence of the Lich King to become the new Lich King that we had during this time. But Arthas, the real Arthas, was still a prisoner inside. But there was a little bit of Arthas that was actually able to help kind of steer this in this direction. And this is actually expanded upon more in the dungeons for Wrath. Specifically the 3 that opened up with this patch. It wasn't just IceCrown Citadel that came up. It was also the Pit of Saren, the Forge of Souls, and the Halls of Reflection. This was the dungeon where we would face against Falric and Marwyn, who were at his side during Warcraft 3. But it was here we would actually come across Frostmourne without the Lich King watching over this. And Uther would tell us about that he believed that whatever was left of Arthas was actually keeping the Lich King from just simply telling all the Scourge on Azeroth, go and destroy the world. And it was also he who told us something about what we needed to do in order to actually defeat the Lich King. See, the thing is, we could defeat the Lich King at the Frozen Throne, but even if we did, that wouldn't be the end of it. Someone else would then have to take the mantle of the Lich King. Because without a Lich King to control the Scourge, they would just go on a rampage, an unstoppable rampage, and destroy everything. Only the Lich King's power and control over them can hold them and stop them from doing that. In fact, give me a second. I have to actually log out of this and do something. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. So what I did was I actually went ahead and disabled both Deadly Boss mods and Bigwigs, because there is actually an option where you can actually have it skip cutscenes that you perhaps have seen before that they play in raids. I have disabled the option, but yet it somehow keeps skipping them. So I figure I'll just disable the mods, and maybe that will take away the option for it to skip the cutscenes, because I do not want it to skip that final cutscene. If it does, I'll just edit this video and show you that cutscene at the end, because it's on YouTube. But I really do not want it to skip that cutscene. So, yeah. Anyway, before we really get more into that whole thing, which I actually considered making videos on those dungeons, especially Halls of Reflection, just to kind of show that stuff. Though I will say, I actually prefer the Alliance version instead of the Horde version, because in the Horde version you have to go with Sylvanas, and Sylvanas is terrible throughout this expansion. I hate doing those with Sylvanas. You know who you do these with on the Alliance side? Jaina. Which makes so much more sense. I get why Sylvanas is doing it, because she has a personal thing against Arthas, but when you get to the Halls of Reflection and Uther comes out, there's nothing, Uther should be like, who are you? And Sylvanas would be like, I don't know, who are you? And it's like, but when you're there with Jaina, they immediately recognize each other, and there's that connection immediately that takes you back to Warcraft 3. It's so much better, in my opinion. So you'll notice here, by the way, because we are doing this on the side of the Horde, that Garrosh is here, Sourfang is here, other members of the Horde are here. Well, you know, at least here. Then over here, you've got some of the other people that you could get certain armors and such here. Like here, I can talk to this Paladin guy, and I can actually get a Paladin unique set. But I can only get it from this guy. Or at least this is the only guy I can actually talk to.
Have a good one. Hey there.
It's like, don't walk away. You just walked
See you
away.
around.
You can't talk to the other ones because you're not those classes, but there is one for each one. There's also an Ashen Verdict, so you actually have to go through this raid multiple times to get reputation with the Ashen Verdict. But I actually want to do it with this class because there is a particular weapon that you can acquire, but it's only available to Paladins, Warriors, and Death Knights. And that weapon is called Shadowmourne. So, and believe it or not, oh, by the way, if you want to know what the sets look like, they're actually wearing them. Yeah, they're actually wearing the sets you can get from them. See? I like the Warlock one there. That's the Dark Coven one. Not too fond of some of these other ones. I think the Rogue one looks kind of silly. Hunter one, too. Not fond of the Shaman one, either. The Paladin one is alright. You look at this guy here. Paladin one, it's okay. The Warrior one, it's pretty good. And then here is, of course, Tyrion Fordring kind of leading the way. Oh, and by the way, over here is the Death Knights. The Knights of the Ebon Blade. You can get the Death Knight stuff, which is basically the this set here. The Scourge Lord set, which is actually based off of the Lich King's armor. Which I have now, and I love, and I have equipped to... And I will pretty much have that as like my main transmog set whenever I have a Death Knight. In fact, it's this one right here. It's this set here, except the one you get first level is like that purple one there. And then the higher level one you can get is this colored one here that Mograine is wearing. So, just wanted to point that out. A lot of cool stuff here. Just kind of a nice little area here that you can get stuff in. In fact, I believe this is where I would start things off if I wanted to get that Shadowmourne quest. But first I had to get rep with the Argent Verdict. And in order to do that, I need to go destroy mobs in here. In fact, speaking of mobs, I need to take out a couple in order to start the first dialogue. The initial speech by
It's too far away.
Tyrion.
This is our final stand. What happens here will echo through the ages. Regardless of outcome, they will know that we fought with honor. That we fought for the freedom and safety of our people. Remember, heroes, fear is your greatest enemy in these befouled halls. Steel your heart, and your soul will shine brighter than 1,000 suns. The enemy will falter at the sight of you. They will fall as the light of righteousness envelops them. Our march upon IceCrown Citadel begins now!
You now stand upon the hallowed ground of the Scourge. The light won't protect you here, Paladin. Nothing will protect you.
He's referring to what happened in the Death Knight starter zone.
I swore that I would see you
At
dead
Light's
and
Hope
the
Chapel.
Scourge dismantled. I'm going to finish what I started at Light's Hope.
You could have been
Double
my
Ashbringer.
greatest champion, Fordring. A force of darkness that will wash over this world and deliver it into a new age of strife. But that honor is no longer yours. Soon, I will have a new champion.
Bolvar.
The breaking of this one has been taxing. The atrocities I have committed upon his soul. He has resisted for so long, but he will bow down before his king soon. Never! I will never serve you! In the end, you will all serve me.
The Paladin still lives? Is it possible, High Lord? Could he have survived?
The power of the light knows no bounds, Sarfang. His soul is under great strain, but he lives. For now.
Then we must save him. If we rescue Bolvar Fordragon, we may quell the unrest between the Alliance and the Horde. Our mission is now clear. The Lich King will answer for his crimes, and we will save High Lord Bolvar Fordragon. Corcoran, prepare Orgrim's hammer for its final voyage. Champions, our gunship will find a point to dock on the upper reaches of the Citadel. Meet us there.
I love you, Sourfang. How about that? He actually wanted to seek peace between the Alliance and the Horde. He didn't want them to keep fighting. Garrosh! Sourfang actually wanted peace between them. This is another example as to why I currently would want him to overthrow Sylvanas and be the war chief of the Horde, but that's me. I actually ran into a lot of people at BlizzCon who actually support Sylvanas and don't like Sourfang, believe it or not, but we all, obviously we are a very divided Horde right now. Anyway, enough about current stuff. Let's get back to the past. So yeah, they have headed off to get the warship so they can get up there and try and save Bolvar. You know what I like also? When I first entered, I immediately saw the first boss of this raid. He's already in sight, immediately, as soon as I enter the doors. I think that's cool. He's like immediately like in seeing us enter and he's like, "Hi, here, I'm waiting for you." Nerubians. Oh, how I love those Nerubians.
I'm out of range. I don't have a target.
Now, normally I wouldn't really bother with these mobs, but as you can see, the more mobs you take out, the more your rep with the Ashen Verdict goes up, and as I said, you need high rep with the Ashen Verdict to even start the quest for Shadows. You actually need to get friendly with them. My rep with them is now just above neutral, because I just started. The only way you get rep with them is here inside the raid. You have to take out the mobs in this raid in order to get rep with them. It's so the idea is that you're constantly going in here and doing this raid multiple times, which honestly, this is a raid where it's like, I don't really mind doing that. As I said right off the bat, this is one of my favorite raids in the game, and I really enjoy it. In fact, there's some really cool rewards that you can get for doing this multiple times and doing certain achievements for it. A couple of them are the Vanquisher
I need to get closer.
Undead Dragon mounts, which I can tell you right now, I really like these mounts.
I need a target.
Or at least just one. If I could have just one of them, I would love it. Who goes there? Huh. I didn't even know he was there. I didn't realize he was right there. Oh well.
This is the beginning and the end, mortals. None may enter the
This is
Master's
Marrowgar.
sanctum.
Now why can't I look at the description? Yeah, I've actually already gotten the pet. Citadel's Enforcer's Claymore. I wouldn't mind getting that sword, though. There's some weapons here I wouldn't mind getting from him. Bonestorm!
The scourge will wash over this world as a swarm of death and destruction I see. Only darkness.
Oh, it actually dropped. Oh, that's funny. Look the appearance. Come on. Ugh. Whatever. Alright. So Mirogar was kind of like a abomination, as you probably saw there, with a bunch of bones and such. Kinda gross. Up next is this lady. Lady Death Whisper. She's, I don't know, kind of a leader of, I guess, a cult? Like the Cult of the Damned, I think? I'm not really sure. Oh my goodness, so many more things that she would drop. But we're just doing this on 10-man normal. Besides, I need to get the achievements for doing this on 10-man, because I've only done this on 25-man. Just so I can be able to have a chance of getting that other mount.
You have found your way here, because you are among the few gifted with true vision in a world cursed with blindness. You can see through the fog that hangs over this world like a shroud, and grasp where true power lies.
Oh, I almost forgot.
Fix your eyes upon your crude hands, the sinew, the soft meat, the dark blood coursing within. It is a weakness, a crippling flaw, a joke played by the creators upon their own creations. The sooner you come to accept your condition as a defect, the sooner you will find yourselves in a position to transcend it.
I'm gonna activate that so I can make sure my reputation gains are increased. So anyway, what I was gonna say, this...
Through our master, all things are possible. His power is without limit, and his will unbending. Those who oppose him will be destroyed utterly. And those who serve wholly, unquestioningly, with utter devotion of mind and soul, elevated to heights beyond your ken.
This is the actual glacier that Arthas walked up at the end of Warcraft 3: The Frozen Throne to get to the top, to get to the Frozen Throne. This is the actual IceCrown Glacier. And then they built the Citadel around it. But you can see the spiraling staircase around the glacier to the top. I just thought I'd point that out. Because for those of us who love Warcraft 3: The Frozen Throne, that's a pretty awesome thing to see. Pretty awesome sight. Again, I cannot wait to see how they redo that cinematic for Warcraft 3 Reforged when that comes out. I cannot wait to see how much better that ends up being. Alright, so there's actually an achievement here where you actually have to take her down with every member of these people here active. So I'm gonna have to like quickly burst her down to hopefully take her down before any others die. There we go.
This shall be your final resting place.
Okay, I didn't get the achievement for it. Why not? Hello? Come at me, bros.
The target. It's too far away. I need to get closer. I don't have a target.
Ugh. Ah! No! No! Alright. Whew. I got on it. I was afraid he was gonna leave without me. No, don't leave without me. So now we're being taken outside. Because remember, Sourfang was like, we're gonna park the ship somewhere, so be sure to meet us there. Look at this. In case you're wondering, these are members of the Alliance. They are here fighting us. We are here in the Citadel to take on the Lich King and the Scourge, and they are still fighting
Thank
us.
the spirits for you, brothers and sisters.
By the way, this
The
is
Skybreaker has
it's the same
already
way if
left.
you're playing on the
Quickly
Alliance
now,
side.
to
Like the Horde will
Orgrim's
show up.
hammer.
The
If
fact
you
that it's
leave
like,
soon,
hey, guess
you
what?
may be able
Both
to
sides
catch
still want to
them.
fight each other. Why? This is so stupid. Fighting each other right here, right in the place where we are supposed to be together to take on the Lich King. No, we have to fight each other. This is ridiculous. Especially the next boss fight, because it shouldn't even really happen. But you know what the tournament rounds basically did? They basically determined which faction would go. So whatever faction you were playing...
Brave warriors. The Alliance is in great number here. Captain Sarfang will be pleased to see you aboard Orgrim's hammer. Make haste. We will secure the area until you are ready for takeoff. Orgrim's hammer infantry. Hold position.
Basically, whatever faction you are playing, quote-unquote, won the tournament and got the honor to join Tyrion and the Argent Crusade in storming the Citadel. And the other faction would have to sit out. But, of course, they weren't gonna do that. They had to get their, part in, so that's why they are here. Fighting the faction who won the tournament,
I need to
instead of actually helping take on the Scourge. And it's not favoritism for one or the other. It's designed to do that either way based on whatever faction you're playing. If you're playing Alliance, the Alliance won and got to be here. So down in Light's Hammer, instead of Garrosh and Sourfang, it would have been like Jaina, Muradin, and Varian instead of Garrosh and Sourfang. Instead of joining Sourfang here, you'd be joining Muradin. But yeah, this next one is... The fact that it's even happening is silly.
Now is not the time for pleasantries.
Alright, Mike. Okay, draw count forward. Let's
Rise
go.
up, sons and daughters of the Horde! Today we battle a hated enemy of the Horde! Loktar Ogar! Gorkron, take us out!
There it is. The Alliance's gunship with Muradin.
What is that? Something approaching in the distance. Alliance gunship!
Muradin bronze
Get
gear.
out here to shut down those cannons! You dare board my ship? Your death will come swiftly. You will know our business.
Okay.
Gorkron, annihilate them!
That was it. I didn't even really have to fire a shot. Nowadays, that just seems to just do it for you. It's kind of silly. Because I didn't even really have to do anything there. Muradin Spyglass. Got my mind on my money. Huh. Alright, so now this next boss. This is something that actually has something really cool when it comes to seeing different things based on whatever faction you are when you encounter this. Because this recently came up in a cinematic called Old Soldier. So, earlier in the expansion, there was an event that happened called the Wrathgate, where Bolvar Fordragon led the Alliance forces, and Saurfang, no, not this Saurfang, his son, High Overlord Saurfang's son, led the Horde forces, and they both were joining the fight together to storm the gate against the Scourge and take on the Lich King. And then Arthas came out, or rather the Lich King came out, excuse me, and all of a sudden they got ambushed, and it was by Forsaken, and they used the Blight, and the implication was that it was Sylvanas, which made sense, because Sylvanas, of course, only cared about seeing Arthas dead. That's all she cared about at that point, was killing Arthas. So she unleashed the Blight on everything there. Scourge, Alliance, and Horde. Saurfang actually, at one point, took a swing with his weapon at the Lich King, and the Lich King killed him. And then Bolvar got attacked in the Blight, and he was dying, and then Alex Straza and the Red Dragons came. They used their flame to get rid of the Blight. But let's just say you'll see what that ended up doing to Bolvar later. Anyway, the point is that at the Wrathgate, Saurfang's son died. So now here we are at this gate. And this goes a couple of different ways based on whatever faction you are. Because I am on the Horde side, I am here with Saurfang, and he is aware of what's going on. In fact, the dialogue I actually skipped by mistake. But before you do the gunship battle, he says that he's heard rumors about his son being brought back as a Death Knight and waiting for us up here. Take a moment to rest before we begin. But he basically is aware that his son is probably waiting for us. We must face the Scourge at full strength if we are to succeed. Onward, Brother Orc.
Corkron, move out! Champions, watch your backs! The Scourge have been caught!
Join me, Father. Join me and we will crush this world in the name of the Scourge. For the glory of the Lich King.
My boy died at the Wrathgate. I am here only to collect his body.
Stubborn and old, what chance do you have? I am stronger and more powerful than you ever were.
We named him Dranosh. It means Heart of Draenor in Orcish. I would not let the Warlocks take him. My boy would be safe, hidden away by the Elders of Garadar. I made a promise to his mother before she died, that I would cross the dark portal alone. Whether I lived or died, my son would be safe, untainted. Today, I fulfill that promise.
Pathetic old orc. Come then, heroes. Come and face the might of the Scourge.
I'm sorry, Saurfang.
By the might of the Lich King.
I'll talk more about this in a moment.
You will have a proper ceremony in Nagrand, next to the pyres of your mother and ancestors.
He has one last thing to say.
Honor young heroes, no matter how dire the battle. Never forsake it.
And that is something that we don't forget. Even now. So when Sylvana says things about how honor means nothing to a corpse, she's completely missing the point. Alright, so anyway, there's a couple more things I want to say about
always
this.
somebody else.
So, first off, I've heard that this fight was one of the most difficult boss fights people had to deal with back in the day. Heroic Sourfang, I've heard, was insanely difficult. And it was like a gear check, or a DPS check. Something like that. But now I also want to let you guys know what happens. See, that what you just saw is what happens if you play on the side of the Horde. And I like it for... I actually like both sides. I like this side because it's a more personal thing for Sourfang. He's there and he gets to, confront him and say things like, "You are not my son. My son died at the Wrathgate. I'm just here to collect his body, which you are walking around in." And he just has that, that moment of just weeping over his son's corpse and, But he gets a chance to do that as well if you're on the Alliance side. So, when you're on the side of the Alliance, you actually show up here with Muradin. And he confronts, and Muradin's kind of arrogant. He's like, "Us, a lone orc against the might of the Alliance?" And, and it's just like, Muradin, really? So you defeat Sourfang, and then Muradin's like, "What's that? A horde ship in the distance." And Sourfang shows up, and he wants to collect his son's body. And Muradin's like, "I can't let you pass." And Sourfang's like, "The body of my only son is behind you. Nothing's gonna stop me." And Muradin is like, I can't do it, lad." And then Jaina and Varian teleport in. And Varian, for the first and only time in this expansion, actually shows some character. Because up until this point, he had just been a racist idiot, warmongering type of character. But all of a sudden, for the first time, he actually shows some character. He says, "Stand down, Muradin. Let a grieving father pass." And he lets Sourfang collect his son's body. And Sourfang says, "I will not forget this kindness, your highness." And Varian says, "I was not at the Wrathgate, but the soldiers who survived told me much of what happened. Your son died a hero. He deserves a hero's burial." And it's just one of those moments where, oh my gosh, Varian actually has more to him. And then Jaina's crying, and he's like, "Why are you crying, Jaina?" And she's like, "I'm just proud of my king." So I like both because the Horde side shows this really good personal moment with Sourfang, having that moment with his son, and then telling you, honor, no matter what, never forsake it. And then on the Alliance side, you have both a moment with him and Varian. It's a really good moment for Varian as well, for his character, but it also is another thing that connects to what happens later on when Sourfang thinks back to what happened. And he's, he doesn't have that, like someone like Garrosh does towards the Alliance, because he saw this honorable act from their king, Varian. And he remembered that. he remembered that act of kindness, that act of honor that he showed him. It's a moment I really, that I really like, and that's why I like it from both sides. This raid on both sides, both Horde and Alliance. Alright, so now we are in the upper area of the Citadel. We are almost there. We have some more to deal with before heading up to the Frozen Throne. In fact, here's more of the glacier. But also,
the chill of this place freezes the marrow of my bones. I can feel the Lich King reaching out, watching us.
there's blood in the struggle to activate this Scourge transporter. We must be prepared to return the favor. Follow me, men! So it's a combination of the Ebon Blade and the Argent Crusade. So, there's a few directions we can go here. We're gonna head over this way first to deal with this, because there's actually a bit of a serious threat here. Though it may not come across that way, but it actually is. So over here, we have, I guess you could call it the Plague Quarter of ICC. You'll see what I mean in a moment.
It's too far away.
Remember, gotta take out all these mobs. All these ads. I want to be able to make sure that I'm able to get as much rep with them as I can if I want to that quest. Ooh. Increase my intellect, sure. I'll take that. Boom, there we go. More intellect for 30 minutes. Nice. So we have a couple of very disturbing abominations in this quarter here, along with their creator. By the way, this is not one of them, but this is not a very pleasant sight either. It's kind of what we encountered in Nox Ramus. Where? Right, so we can go either direction to kind of start this off.
You cannot escape us.
I need to get closer.
There it is.
I need to target something first.
That's right, come to me. This is a little easier.
I don't have a target.
You kill Stinky! You pay!
It's too far away. I have a target. I need to target something first.
Yeah, that's, this is Festergut. Yeah. So, Ice Gunship Battle. Why won't it let me look at the info on these bosses? Sourfang. Festergut. Yeah. And then another one called Rotface. Yeah. Quite a looker, isn't he? This is one of those bosses that I think they called a DPS check because he had a lot of health and was very tanky. But there's also another aspect of this, and that's that the room fills with a substance that can eventually overwhelm you.
Fun time!
Just an ordinary gas cloud. But watch out, because that's no ordinary gas cloud.
That's Professor Putricide up there. So yeah, I did that quickly because, as you saw, it said that gas would cause an explosion at 10 stacks, which I wasn't willing to test if it was going to kill me or not. So I gotta hit that, and that's going to start transferring that gas through these tubes towards the doorway in order for me to try and get to Professor Putricide. But I need to get the other substance on the other side in order to open that door. Here's another dog abomination called Precious, which is Rotface's favorite pet.
Precious! No!
Should have quite a bit of rep at this point. Yep, I'm friendly. So this is Rotface. Yeah. You can imagine what Putricide was working on to create these two things. Yeah. Gosh, these are disturbing. Where's the gas?
Great news, everyone! The slime is flowing again!
There's the slime.
News, Daddy.
Ooh, nice. All right, let's get going here. So now I have to send that slime to the doorway. Now, you might be thinking, well, what is up with this guy? Why is he here, and what is he doing? Well, from what I understand, he is... By the way, look at the floor. That's pretty horrifying, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, the stuff of nightmares. Anyway. I believe it's that the Lich King set him up here in this lab because he is actually working on something to help the Lich King
need to target something first.
try and come up with something to help deal with all life on the entire planet.
I'm out of range.
So here? Otherwise, I'm not really sure why the Lich King would bother healing someone like this. But then again, the Lich King also was okay with experimenting with various different things involving the undead scourge in terms of going back and so he could utilize their powers. And this will include some of the different dragon flights, which we will see in a bit. By the way, he says something here that I think he's actually telling the truth about, which is kind of horrifying. What is this? Oh. I already skipped that. Hello, Putricide.
Good news, everyone! I think I've perfected a plague that will destroy all life on Azeroth.
I believe him. I think he's actually telling the truth.
Bad news, everyone! I don't think I'm going to make it.
Come on. Let the tear gas wear off. Duh, I can't take that because I can't collect it anyway because I'm not trained in daggers. Drink me! See that text? Drink me! This would actually turn you into, like, something similar to Rotface and Fester Gut. And it's actually something you kind of need to do in order to, you know, involving the Shadowmourne quest. But also, if the fight goes on too long, he actually drinks some of these potions and he becomes this, you know, an abomination type of being as well, himself. But the fact that he's like, good news, everyone! I figured out a way to kill all life on Azeroth. Yeah, I think that was probably a task that was actually given to him by the Lich King. And I think he's telling, I don't think he's like, you know, making a joke or something, or being silly. I think he's telling the truth. Which is scary. Because if we hadn't come here and stormed the Citadel, who knows what could have happened, what he could have done. It's a pretty terrifying thing to think about. Alright, so now we are going to head to the northern part of this area. So we've dealt with the plague area. Now we're going to go deal with what I'd like to call the vampire area. Even though they're not necessarily like the vampires in that sense. It's kind of different, but you kind of get the idea. I am not going to drink that. First time I did this boss up here, I was kind of confused on what exactly I was supposed to do until I realized, oh, you're supposed to attack this particular one, and then the others were kind of just kind of go down with them.
You thought us defeated
Gotcha.
so easily.
I need to get closer.
The Sand Lane are the Lich King's immortal soldiers. Now, you shall face their might combined. Rise up, brothers,
Just
and
collecting
destroy
money.
our enemies.
I didn't realize she was talking during that.
With the power of the orb, Valenar will have his vengeance.
There it is. It was merely a setback. He took a page there from Kelthus. It was merely a setback. Anyone probably knows about that. Oh.
They come.
Oh, that was much faster than I thought. I guess because I'm doing this on normal 10-man, they're just going down just super fast. Maybe I can actually pull off the part where I can actually... Alright, so the next boss is a complicated, interesting boss, so you have to take down a couple different ways if you want to do certain achievements. This is Blood Queen Lanathel. She's basically like, you could basically summarize her as an Empire Queen, I guess.
Out of range.
And there are a couple ways you're supposed to take her down. During the fight, she can actually bite you and, I guess, quote-unquote, turn you into a vampire.
Need a target.
And then there was supposed to be this mechanic with the raid group where you would try to pass the debuff from teammate to teammate through biting them or something like that in order to kind of remove it from yourself. Like certain players would bear it, and others would try to
target
you know,
something
do their part while not having been bitten. Soloing this is kind of difficult to do in terms of trying to pull off both ways because she immediately comes after you and bites you. But I'm thinking that if I can take her down quickly with my Divine Shield, maybe I can pull this off.
You have made an unwise decision.
I don't have a target.
We were all getting along so well.
Huh. I wonder... So here are some of the achievements I was talking about. Let's see, where is the one involving her? Ah! Ah! It worked! Defeat her without becoming a vampire. So now... So if I just let that fight go on a little longer, she would have bitten me and I would have become a vampire. But because I used Divine Shield where she couldn't bite me, and then I immediately killed her during that, I was able to pull that off without becoming a vampire. So this is a great way to try and pull off these achievements. And this is why I love using the Paladin and things like this, because of abilities like Divine Shield, where I can be able to avoid things like that. Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind for pulling off the achievement so I can get my Vanquisher mounts. Alright, so, now where is it this right here? No, it's up ahead, right here. It's alright, I'm good. Whoa. Oh. I'm fine, I'm fine. Plus I got my buffs going that will keep helping me out here. Alright. So now we are going to be heading to what I like to call the Dragon's Wing. So we had the Plague Wing, we had the Vampire Wing, and now we have the Dragon Wing.
Argent brothers. The Vrykul will protect the Frost Queen with their lives.
Even dying here beats spending another day collecting reagents for that madman Finkelstein.
Enough idle banner. Our champions have arrived. Support them as we push our way through the hall.
You may have once fought beside me, Croc, but now you are nothing more than a traitor! Come! Your second death approaches!
Because he used to be a Death Knight with the Scourge. Remember, the Death Knight starter zone. And he joined Mograine with the Knights of the Ebon Blade. That's why he's one of the Grand Champions. But yeah, we are heading to a couple of interesting bosses. The first one is Velythria, a green dragon. Now, we're actually not supposed to fight her. This is a unique boss because we're actually supposed to heal her. We're fighting other enemies around us who are trying to prevent us from healing her. But that's how you're supposed to win that boss, is by healing her. Which means if you're soloing this, and if you actually want to do this boss, you can't actually skip this boss. But if you want to do every boss here, you have to play a class that can heal. Meaning, there's only a few classes that you could do this with. The Paladin, the Priest, the Shaman, the Druid, or the Monk. And that's pretty much it. After we deal with Velythria, guess who we're going to be facing? Sindragosa. But first, we have to get through all these Valajar, because remember, the Valkyr served the Lich King during this time. Now, usually, they would normally serve Odin. But this should give you an idea of how much more powerful the Lich King is compared to Odin. That he can control the Valkyr and the Valajar instead of Odin. Just take a moment. Alright, now, let's head on through. Ah!
Draw them back to us.
Follow me!
I'm out of range.
Miserable creatures! Die!
It's too far away. I need to get closer.
She's killing them one by one as we're doing this, by the way. You notice that?
I'm out of range. I need to target something first.
Her reinforcements will arrive shortly. We must bring her down quickly.
Foolish Croc. You brought my reinforcements with you. Arise, Argent champions, and serve the Lich King in death!
No! No! Why was I denied a death by flame? You must all burn!
I need to get closer.
I'll draw her attacks. Return our
sorry.
brothers to their graves. Then help me bring her
What?
down.
They died so easily. Come, Scourgebane. I'll show the Master which of us is truly worthy of the title of champion.
Champions! I cannot hold her back any longer.
Perhaps you were right, Croc.
Oh, thanks for helping us, you two.
I'll remain and inform Tyrion of our progress. You must press on and bring down Sindragosa. Loktar, champions!
The loss of our comrades was unpreventable.
Yeah, I guess we...
They lived and died in the service of the Argent Crusade.
You have done much in this war against the Scourge. May the light embrace you.
I guess the reason that we have to take down Sindragosa is probably because we don't want her interfering in our fight against the Lich King. So I've switched to the Holy Spec, because this is what I would be using, of course, if this was the case. By the way, I also just wanted to show off my secret appearance for my artifact weapon. It's Reinhardt's hammer from Overwatch. I was able to get this, thank you. I just wanted to show that off for a moment. Boom!
Intruders have breached the
Holy
inner
shock.
sanctum. Hasten the destruction of the Green Dragon. Leave only bones.
I am renewed!
for the reanimation.
Isera grants me the favor to lay these foul creatures to rest!
One heal was all it took. All I did was Holy Light, and boom, that was it. She was good. I guess it gives you an idea of how powerful the healing abilities we have nowadays are. In terms of the stats. Obviously, back then, imagine a 25-man group with whatever healers you had in the group trying to, like, quickly heal as fast as they can that dragon, while the others were trying to hold off because ads would just come through here. Plus, she's also going to be spawning portals, like, go into these portals to make things easier. And you have to, you would have to do that, and then... By the way, if you can pull that off on your own, by the way. It does reset the encounter, but it does give you the achievement. So, that is something I found out that I did want to point out. So now we have to go down here and make our way to fighting Sindragosa. And I will say, when I first saw Sindragosa, I thought Sindragosa was awesome. One of the coolest things I'd ever seen. And then I found out more about the fact that she was actually a consort to Malygos, and she was a blue dragon, and the Lich King rose her because, well, he wanted a mount. And I don't blame him for wanting a mount that awesome. And then I heard Sindragosa's voice. You will be hearing it in just a moment. I don't want to speak ill of voice actors and such and their work, but...
Must not approach the Frost Queen. Quickly, stop them!
I think the voice that they could have done a better job.
It's too far away.
Oh gosh. Spiders. Why did it have to be spiders?
I'm out of range. I don't have a target. It's too far away.
Boom! Divine Storm!
I need to get closer.
Stop it with the frost bolts.
I need a target.
Huh. Come on, open the doors.
It's too far away. I'm out of range. I need to
Nope, getting out of that room. The Frost Queen's lair. Which is kind of funny because really this... I'm not really sure I consider this a lair when it has this big gigantic opening. But then again, I guess the idea is that only she could be able to access it, or along with some other, undead frost worms and other, undead blue dragons. Look at all that rep. Look at all that rep.
I'm out of range.
Oh, the Ashen Verdict will absolutely love me. Boom! Alright, so now we have a couple more before we face Sindragosa and cause her to show up. We have Rhymefang over here, which you do get to see in the dungeons here in IceCrown. I think it is the Pit of Saren, or that you mainly see Rhymefang. And Spinestalker. So we take these two down, Sindragosa will show up. And I've heard that heroic Sindragosa was, like Sourfang, an extremely difficult fight.
I need to get closer.
But man, would I love to have one of these guys.
You are fools who have come to this place! The icy winds of Northrend will consume your souls!
Yeah, not exactly the ideal voice that I would have wanted for Sindragosa. Free at last. You notice how a lot of them are kind of saying the same thing? A lot of them are like almost thanking us for freeing them. Yeah, Sindragosa is no different. She was a mighty blue dragon, a consort to Malygos. And she was raised up simply because the Lich King wanted her as a mount. I'm not sure if she deserved the title of Frost Queen. I kind of think that some people for a while were kind of joking about, joking or almost speculating when you think about it, about hold on. Oh, it's on the way down. Ah! Alright. About if Jaina would become the Lich Queen. Whether or not she would be called the Frost Queen or the Lich Queen, I mean, probably could have been able to do either one. Alright, this is it, everyone. We took down Sindragosa, which means all that's left is the Lich King himself. This is the one, guys. Ooh, War Mace of Menethil. These are just for the, ooh, Trogdor Axe and Frostborn King. Ooh. These are just things that you can get as a paladin, by the way. This is just filtered with a paladin. Obviously, there's a lot more, many more different things that you could get here. Staves, fist weapons, other various different things here. Of course, these are mainly just weapons, and that's just on 10-man normal. Now, look at all the other things that you can get, like on 25 heroic, for example. Look at this. So you can get a pet. You can get a couple of different marks for the gear vendors. The Serenite, which also is used for crafting. And then there's this. This mount. This extremely difficult to get mount. Anyone who rides around with this mount, I get insanely jealous over. Because this is one of the most difficult mounts to get because it's only obtainable doing this on 25 heroic. Lich King. And it has like a 2% drop rate. 2%! Do you have any idea how many runs you would have to do to hopefully have a chance to get this to drop? And on the most difficult setting? Which features a couple of mechanics that are very difficult to deal with. Alright, so then, yeah, you can see how many more things if we were doing this in 25 heroic. But I'm mainly focusing on this just to do the 10-man stuff. Here we are, everyone. So you can see, this is it. This is the Frozen Throne. The top of the glacier. The top of the Citadel, right here. Tyrion already made his way up here. With, you know, not really sure when or how he did that. I can go up here and do this, because nothing's going to start until I talk to Tyrion. So let's take a moment to look at this. What a sight. What a visual this is. The Lich King, in all of his armor and glory, along with Frostmourne, sitting on the Frozen Throne. And above him, that is Bolvar. Yes, that is Bolvar. That's what Alexstrasza's fire breath did to him at the Wrathgate. It completely burned and charred his body. And he's been torturing him up here this whole time to get him to submit and serve him as his new champion, which he wanted to be Tyrion. But instead he decided, I'll just do it Bolvar. But this image right here, gosh, so good, so cool. This is the kind of thing that you'd want as like a wallpaper or a poster. Just this sight, this visual. And then and the eyes, the helm. Oh, so great. Love it, love it, love it. Let me get my buffs up. Forgot to reactivate those after I switch back. You have no chance, Lich King. Double Ashbringer. Long have I waited for this day, hero. Are you and your allies prepared to bring the Lich King to justice? We charge on your command. We are prepared, High Lord. Let us battle for the fate of Azeroth, for the light of dawn.
So, the light's vaunted justice has finally arrived. Shall I lay down Frostmourne and throw myself at your mercy for...
We'll grant you a swift death, Arthas. More than can be said for the thousands you've tortured and slain.
You'll learn of that firsthand. When my work is complete, you will beg for mercy, and I will deny you. Your anguished cries will be testament to my unbridled power.
So be it. Champions, attack!
I'll keep you alive to witness the end, Fordring. I would not want the Light's greatest champion to see this wretched world remade in my
image. So on Heroic, I would actually set myself up here the first time I tried this on the road. You know why? Because he had the mechanic where he would knock you back off, way off there and kill you.
Freeze you from within until all that remains is an icy...
It's too far away.
Anyway, if he knocks you back and you're standing here, he'll just knock you back onto the stairs. As opposed to if you stand out there, he knocks you way off and you instantly die. So if you're going to do this on Heroic, you got to make sure that you stand here so that if he knocks you back with that mechanic, he'll just knock you back onto the stairs and you'll just be able to keep going. See? See how I got knocked back there? Like that? Now that's because I'm getting hit by these icy spears. But you get the idea. That rather than it knocking me off to my instant death, I'm instead just getting hit back to the stairs. So eventually he'll stop doing that and putting out that aura and that damage, and he will come and attack me again.
I'm out of range.
Watch as the world around you collapses.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you got to see what that's like. I was absolutely not expecting that because I thought that was something that only happened on Heroic. Apparently not. Apparently it does happen to you. If he does that, no matter what your difficulty you're apparently playing on.
You need something?
Let me repair my stuff.
Be careful.
Let's go back up there. Let's get back up to the Frozen Throne and do this again. The upper spire. Then we'll just go here and it'll take us straight up there. So yeah, we have to see that cutscene again, but I don't mind it. Alright, so see, that's why I was standing there. I took a moment to actually show you guys what was going on, and I was standing out of position, and for a moment, I got out of position, and you saw the result. So that's why I just, like, now out of habit, just kind of positioned myself right there, because as soon as I walked over here, he knocked me off. If I had been standing there, he would just knock me on the stairs. That was my bad.
So, the light's vaunted justice has finally arrived. Shall I lay down Frostmourne and throw myself at your mercy for
We'll grant you a swift death, Arthas. More than can be said for the thousands you've tortured and slain.
That's the set you can get at downstairs.
Firsthand, when my work is complete, you will beg for mercy, and I will deny you. Your anguished cries will be testament to my unbridled power.
So be it. Champions, attack!
I'll keep you alive to witness the end for me. I would not want the light's greatest champion to live from with this wretched until all that remains is an icy husk. Until all that remains is an icy husk.
It's too far away.
Careful here. The thing is, I don't want to actually kill him so quickly because there's some dialogue I don't want to risk skipping over here. So I kind of want to take this a little slow. Especially when it comes to his health. Stuff will usually trigger certain health. A certain amount.
It's too far away.
Nope.
I need to get closer.
No questions remain unanswered. No doubts linger. You are Azeroth's greatest champions. You overcame.
He would have killed us at this moment, by the way.
Before you, my mightiest servants have fallen before your relentless onslaught. Your unbridled fury.
Imagine every member of the raid dead right now. That's what he would have already done. He would have killed us all, and he'd be giving this speech.
Is it truly righteousness that drives you? I wonder. You trained them well, Fordring. delivered the greatest fighting force this world has ever known. Right into my hands. Exactly.
You see? It was his plan all along.
You shall be rewarded for your unwitting sacrifice.
He wanted us as his champions.
Watch now, as I raise them from the dead to become masters of the Scourge. They will shroud this world in chaos and destruction. Azeroth's fall will come at their hands, and you will be the first to die. I delight in the irony.
Light, grant me one final blessing. Give me the strength to shatter these bonds.
He shattered Frostmourne.
No more, Arthas! No more lives will be consumed by your hatred!
Free, at last. It is over, my son. This is the moment of reckoning. Rise up, champions of the light!
He would have mass rezzed everyone in the raid right now. Goodbye, Arthas. Yes, the cutscene.
Father, is it over?
At long last. No king rules forever, my son.
I see. Only darkness before me.
Without its master's command, the restless Scourge will become an even greater threat to this world. Control must be maintained. There must always be a Lich King.
The weight of such a burden. It must be mine, for there is no other.
Tyrion! You hold a grim destiny in your hands, brother. But it is not your own.
Bolvar! By all that is holy.
The dragon's flame sealed my fate. The world of the living can no longer comfort me. Place the crown upon my head, Tyrion. Forevermore, I will be the jailer of the damned.
No, old friend. I cannot.
Do it, Tyrion!
You and these brave heroes have your own destinies to fulfill. This last act of service is mine. You will not be forgotten, brother.
I must be forgotten, Tyrion.
If the world is to live free from the tyranny of fear, they must never know what was done here today. Tell them only that the Lich King is dead, and that Bolvar Dragon died with him. Now, go. Leave this place and never return.
Gosh, what an amazing cutscene. And so, just like in Legion, if you've seen my Death Knight playthrough of the Class Hall campaign for the Death Knight in Legion, there is now Bolvar up there wearing the helm, frozen, on the frozen throne. And Arthas, in the end, Arthas for the second time. The first time was in Reign of Chaos, when he said he would pay any price to save his people. And then he became a prisoner within Frostmourne. That was the first time that he died a hero. This was the second time. It wasn't just the Lich King's plan to have all the heroes come here to face him. The Lich King wanted that because he wanted to kill them all and then raise them back as his champions of the Scourge, because then no one would be able to stop him. Arthas, who was in the back of the Lich King's mind, influencing him however he could, he wanted the Lich King to do that. He wanted the champions to come here because he knew they would be the only ones that were capable of stopping him. This was the second time that Arthas died a hero. And you know what his fate was? He said it. He saw only darkness before him. He is trapped in the darkness. And that is just so tragic, considering what he was willing to sacrifice for everyone. The first time was for his people of Lordaeron. The second time was for all of Azeroth, knowing what would happen if the Lich King succeeded. Dagger of the Blood King. Nice. Gavel of the Lightbringer. I'll take it. And there is Frostmourne, shattered. Tyrion is just left to ponder about what just happened. He was so close at that moment to putting on that helmet himself. And when you think about it, that would have been even worse. Imagine someone, not just with the power, but the personality of Tyrion Fordring becoming the Lich King. He would have been a much more dangerous Lich King than Arthas was. Because at least Arthas, the real Arthas, was able to be in the back of the Lich King's mind. Because that was a combination of the essence of the Lich King and Death Knight Arthas. Tyrion wouldn't have had that. Because he willingly did. He would have willingly done that. Whether or not Bolvar turns out to be worse or not, we have to still wait and see. Now, what he did during Legion, that's pretty terrifying. If you do the class hall, or the Death Knight class hall mount quest, he outright says to you, if you fall trying to obtain this mount, I will simply take the Knights of the Ebon Blade for myself. Admitting that he can just do that whenever he wants. He's just choosing not to right now. He pretty much straight up says, I will take them for myself. Arthas had certain goals, but I have other plans. What those plans are, we still don't know. But it's obvious they are setting up the Bolvar Lich King for something else down the line. If you can't tell, I absolutely love this raid and this storyline, because this was a huge conclusion and finale to a storyline that went back to Warcraft 3. The storyline that really helped make Warcraft popular in the first place. The story of Arthas was so gripping, it was so good and so well told in Warcraft 3, and to see it come to conclusion here was just awesome. So now we can head back down to Light's Hammer. Actually, hold on. Can I? No, I can't really talk to Tyrion. But there are some people down. See, Light's Hammer will have now changed after what just happened. Although, before we go through the portal, let's look one more time at what's going on up here now. There's Bolvar. Now is the new Lich King. Frozen on the frozen throne. I imagine he purposely froze himself like that because really, after what happened to his body because of Alexstras's fire, that ice may be the only thing that's actually able to prevent him from having incredible amounts of pain. I would imagine. So let's take a look at who's here now. If anyone else is here. It doesn't look like there is.
We shall triumph. Each of us has a role to play.
No, it's disappointing. So, obviously, I wonder if this happens if you do it on Heroic. You can actually go back to the Frozen Throne if you want. At least on the Alliance side, if you do this on the Alliance, Jaina will be here, and I don't remember if she has anything to say. I think she does. But you know who else would be here? Standing right here? Uther. Uther would be right here. Let me go. Ah, there it is. I actually would like to see if I can show this to you guys on camera. I've never done this before, but I really want to.
For us, there's no peace.
Where we go from here is unknown. What we do know is that none of this would have been possible without your aid. The Knights of the Ebon Blade salute you. The sacred and the corrupt. It is against my judgment that I present you this errand, Blood Elf, as it will likely end in your undoing. Ignore my counsel and embark on the endeavor, and I shall provide you with the knowledge and resources to see it through. You must return to Frostmourne Cavern and recover Light's Vengeance, Arthas's discarded hammer, reforged with Serenite and etched with the acidic blood of the Lich King's abominations. It will provide the foundation for our work. Place Light's Vengeance, 25 Primordial Serenite, Rotface's acidic blood, and Festergut's acidic blood in High Lord Morgraine's Runeforge and IceCrown Citadel. Rotface's acidic blood and Festergut's acidic blood may only be obtained in the 25-person difficulty setting of IceCrown Citadel. So that's what all that Primordial Serenite is for. For this. 25 of that. And that's only if you actually can get it to drop. That may give you an idea as to how many times you probably have to go through this. There's actually also some other things that you can acquire for this that have storyline ties going back to Warcraft 3. You can get an item for certain characters like Uther, Sylvanas, Jaina. I'm thinking of who the others are. Muradin. And I think there's one other person. I'm trying to remember who it is. I think it's Mograine. Obviously not as important as those other people, but yeah. So that was IceCrown Citadel, everyone. One of my absolute favorite raids, and what I think is one of the best raids that has ever been made, especially when it comes to the atmosphere and the story, the feeling that this was it. This was the big finale of this storyline that went all the way back to Warcraft 3. So well done. Now, believe it or not, this was actually not the last thing that they did for this expansion. They actually did another raid called, the Ruby Sanctum. Where you took on Halion. I mean, it's kind of a nice little lead up into Cataclysm. But really, I think this should have been the last thing. This should have been like the last thing that they ended on. The last note of this expansion. But I understand that sometimes you want to tease what's coming next. Which I guess I can do now. So, we are now going to be transitioning from Wrath of the Lich King to Cataclysm. So, we have a few, I think, good raids, and a couple that are just, I'll let this, you know, right now, of this group, the Firelands is my favorite. I do like Blackwing Descent. I like Bastard of Twilight, too. Throne of the Four Winds, but it's short. And then there's Dragon Soul. Oh, boy. So, more than likely, when we come back, we will be getting to revisit an old friend. In fact, we're going to get to revisit a couple old friends of this expansion. You remember in Classic, when we went into Blackwing Lair? And we met an old friend by the name of Nefarian? We'll begin to see him again in Blackwing Descent. Stay tuned.